license that was given to them. Again, just trying to be quick through this part. They're not supposed to be controlled substances. And we provide evidence of drug use and other things that's going on, about prostitution on the property, and again, evidence of acceptance for payment for sex acts. Not allowed to have sexual intercourse, sodomy, oral population, masturbation, or other sexual activities to occur. And clearly, based on what I just shared with you, those things are going on. There's supposed to be an unobstructed view from the manager's station to the entire, everywhere that a patron can go, there's supposed to be an unobstructed view. And that's for, of course, to make sure that those kinds of activities I just told you about aren't taking place. And if you saw the configuration of Theater X, there is no way. I mean, there's no way they're in compliance with that. You go back to all these other areas, the partitions and doors. So that's obviously being violated. The viewing rooms, you can't have more than one person in it. There's even a website out there that an employee at Theater X confirmed is theirs. That gives you the terms of engagement and couples going into these booths, and of course you got anatomical parts going back and forth. Illumination requirements is dark, it doesn't appear that's met. There's not supposed to be any openings between the booths, it's prohibited, and those are there. Booth construction is not supposed to be any wood 48 inches to the floor. That's clearly not the case. Not to appear in a state of nudity, and we know that there's all kinds of various forms of nudity taking place. And then of course the hours of operation are supposed to be closed by 1 a.m. and we know they're open 24/7. The chronology of, so when we had this and we knew about the orders, the question is, okay, so then what? We didn't run out and hold a press conference and say, look, let's jump up and down and show what we've got. That's not what we do. Never will we do that. Our way we approached it and what we did was sit down first with those that have the ability to enforce the ordinance, come to them, share the information, make them aware of it, and then, as we've done in many other communities, when they do that, we stand back with the citizens, as we should, and applaud people for doing the right thing. We think that's the right way to do things, and the only way to do things is give people a chance to do their job and give them a chance to do the right thing once they have the information in front of them. We started that process back in November of 2007, which is almost a year and a half ago. And in all candor, I know that the council was in a transition period. Sam Gwynn had left, new attorneys trying to be figured out, so no question about that. We finally did get a chance to sit down in February of 2008 with counsel for Clarksville, and often they don't deal with these issues on a daily basis. We know that and understand it, so it's a part of education, providing information. We did that. We provided information about the violations, the activities taking place, and the ordinance and the solutions available. We thought the next thing that would happen, and our understanding coming out of that, is that then there was going to be an opportunity to just meet with you guys, provide you the information, and then just keep going on. And again, we should do what we say we're going to do, and that's support you whenever the ordinance is enforced and the right thing is done. But for whatever reason, and this is some of these things we just don't understand or know, we never had that opportunity to meet. And we kept reaching out and never had that chance. And then we thought, well, we reached out and said we'd probably come to this kind of forum to talk to you. And then we did have, and finally an opportunity did come to meet with representatives from Clarksville and share this information. And we did, and we shared what was going on. And at that time, we did not provide specifically the evidence that we had related to the ordinance. As you might imagine, we want to make sure, when we have this information, it's very sensitive, we're handing it over, where it's going to go, who's going to be given to. And so we scheduled another meeting after that, which took place in August, which I believe you were at, Councilman Appleby. And at that point, we did give the information, and it was this binder right here. It was all the evidence that we had related to the ordinance, pictures, everything that we had at that time. And it absolutely seemed like there was a sincerity in enforcing the ordinance and doing all that. And so we were very pleased. And as you might imagine, because they started applying for permits at that time. And we started getting calls from the press, and we were not going to comment to the press, and we didn't, because we felt, again, that's the right thing to do and the way to do things. Following that meeting, it was our feeling and understanding that, okay, we're not saying anybody has to take what Rock finds and then go enforce the ordinance. We always understood and believed, okay, we'll take what you got and go prove it and find it and do an investigation to back up and see if what we have uncovered is absolutely the case, which we're fine with, and we don't have anything to hide in that regard. So that's what we thought was going to be next, and then the effort would be made to comprehensively and effectively enforce the ordinance to protect us from the harms that are identified in it. Subsequent to that one, that meeting, then it just seemed like everything kind of broke down. We never had another chance to meet. We reached out, and we just could not get that opportunity. And then in that same period of time, we found out that actually a citation had been issued against Theater X for being open 24 hours. And again, I want to do what we say we'll do. And I want to go a step further without first saying thank you for that. I mean, I think that's a fantastic start, and you ought to be thanked and applauded for that citation and what's done in that regard. But our concern was it was one citation for one violation of the ordinance that had absolutely nothing to do with the activities that are taking place inside the business. So, and we had sent over a picture of the marquee where Theater X was saying still open 24 hours. So it was almost like a poke in the eye. And so we were glad that there's one, but we were like, well, where's the rest? Why isn't the whole ordinance being enforced with respect to all the activities that are taking place? From our standpoint, this was a great concern because also in those contexts of those conversations, it seemed to indicate that, well, it would be a $2,500 penalty probably, and they would pay it, and then it would all be over. Well, knowing what we know, and knowing the activities that were taking place in there, and how outrageous they are, what we were concerned by is that this would just be a situation where it would be a rollover, and if the community did not know that, one, how bad it is, and that there is a solution, and you have this comprehensive great ordinance in place, that it would be a situation where, okay, well, we settled that, they don't know, and we tried. And we often refer to it in the offices that we tried defense, where people don't know any better and they think nothing else could be done. And that's why we felt we couldn't just sit back, and that we had to get off the sideline and say, no, there's much more that can be done. There's so many bad activities going on here, and we need to make sure that everybody becomes aware of that. In the same period of time, I was sitting at home watching TV, and all of a sudden on TV comes Scott Reynolds from Wave 3, and he says that we've been invited to come along for a bust of Rose's massage parlor in Clarksville. Which I get up off the chair, and there's this whole story about it. And at the end, the question's asked, well, what made you do this? And the response was, well, there were 4 or 5 anonymous complaints. And as you can imagine, from my concern, again, we sent out something right away saying thank you. We applauded that action for taking that step. But our concern is and they're all stacked up here, when there's over 6,300 people who have said, please enforce the ordinance, and 4 or 5 anonymous complaints result in a bust of Rose's massage parlor for alleged prostitution. We're sitting here going, why is that going on when we feel like there's so much even worse going on over here at Theater X? And we just couldn't understand, we were concerned then that it was becoming well, what are they upset about? We're trying. But we know that all this is going on at Theater X, and so many people are asking for the right thing to be done. So at that point, we were very honest about it. We said we felt like we had no choice to go forward with educating the community at a grassroots level about what's going on over here, that there is a solution, and that people need to let you know that they want to see the right thing done, and that they want to see the ordinance enforced, and that they care. Because we think it was very important that they be able to do that. And we think the easiest thing, frankly, would have been just to say, you know what, this is serious. We need to take this under advisement. We need to take this information in and then take a good look at this and decide what to do. And maybe this is some of what can be a great dialogue going forward and figuring out where we go from here. Because often what I find is things might be said by people when they're not actually sitting down with each other and they get a chance to talk. And it's amazing how they can probably be more in common than not. But the thing that is concerning to us and what we keep hearing is that, at least in the dealings we've had and in the public media, is a lot of the comments coming back are reasons not to enforce the ordinance. Finding reasons to not do it, which is very concerning to us. And I apologize, thank you for leeway a little bit, and just wanted to address a couple of those things. Just a couple of things that we're hearing, and then maybe we can give our response. And that is, well, it's going to be too costly. And that New Albany was, spent $500,000. First I would say I think New Albany situations are a little bit different in how the timing and things that went on there. But the case isn't over, and they haven't lost. And I think New Albany actually provides a great example, because even though they've had a case that's on appeal and it has cost them quite a bit of money, Here recently, I think it was a model of exactly how it can be, the way it should be, is that they took swift action when another business popped up in New Albany. Citizens came there, I was there, I know. People thanked them and applauded them for taking swift action to pass a new ordinance, even in light of everything else, and to do what was right in protecting our families and children. So I actually think it becomes a great example of what we should do when people do the right thing, and that's thank them for doing it. This ordinance right here, and I don't know if a lot of people will know this, and maybe you're not even aware of it, that it has a $2,500 per day, per violation penalty provision in it. If you just took the one citation that's out there right now, just the one for being open 24 hours, they're supposed to close down at 1 a.m., and that was issued in October. If you looked at calculating that per day, just for that one violation, we would be at over $500,000, which I think would, without question, pay for legal fees in this regard, and I think a lot of people don't know that.
Point of clarification on that, Mr. Wickey, you
bet.
Up to $2,500. It's not just an automatic $2,500 for violation.
And sure, and that's fine. But even if you had half of that, even if you had a third of that, I think we could see how that starts to add up, and being able to pay, as other communities have done as well. We tried. We became available or aware of the resources that were available at the state level to help, so that it's not necessarily all on your dime. But when we tried to share that information, there just seemed to be no real interest in knowing about it. And the state's never going to come in and force you to take their help. But I think if there's a desire to do the right thing, I think that help is available. And so we never quite understood why there wasn't a real desire to have that help and to hear more about it. And I'm always concerned when you hear the statement that it's going to cost too much, because I think essentially what's the message that it's sending is that, well, you might be violating the law, but if it's going to be difficult, if you're rich or you may have deep pockets, we're not going to come after you. We're going to let you just keep violating the law. And I don't think that's the right message or what we want to be sending at all in this scenario. And I think at the end of the day, without question, the benefits far outweigh